The needle plunged into Player 3's arm, and her scream echoed through the warehouse before her body convulsed and went still. Lily Anderson jerked awake, gasping, her prison uniform soaked with sweat. It was just a nightmare. Except it wasn't. 24 hours ago, she'd watched that girl die, watched her head explode when the timer hit 0, watched the other players scatter like roaches when the lights came on. But let's rewind. Let's go back to where this nightmare actually began. 7 days before Christmas, Seoul glittered like a jewelry box someone had shaken and scattered across the hills. Lily walked through Myeongdong, surrounded by couples taking selfies under the lights, families shopping for gifts, everyone belonging to someone. She belonged to no one. Well, that wasn't entirely true. She belonged to her mother, 3,000 miles away in Lagos, dying. 15 million won, the doctor had said over the phone that morning, his voice clinical and detached. The surgery must happen within the week, or the cancer will spread beyond our ability to intervene. Lily had stared at her bank account on her phone screen. 2 million won. 2 years of saving, sending money home, eating instant noodles in her tiny goshiwon, working double shifts at Seoul National University Hospital. 2 million won that might as well have been 2 won when she needed 15 million. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost deleted it, but desperation makes people stupid. Win 300 million won. One chance. Click if you're desperate enough. The link glowed blue at the bottom of the message. Lily's finger hovered over it. She was a nurse. She knew about scams, about organ trafficking, about women who disappeared. But she also knew about mothers who died while their daughters stood helpless, watching, useless. She clicked. Nothing happened. No pop-up, no download, no response. Just her standing in the middle of a crowded Seoul street, feeling like the idiot she probably was. Stupid, she muttered in Yoruba, shoving her phone in her pocket. Stupid, stupid girl. The next evening, she left the hospital after a 16-hour shift. Her feet ached, her back screamed, and her eyes burned with exhaustion. She didn't notice the black van until it was too late. Hands grabbed her, a cloth covered her mouth, and the world went chemical and dark. When Lily woke, she was sitting in a white room so bright it hurt. A metal table separated her from a figure in a black mask, the kind you'd see in a horror movie, expressionless and smooth. Welcome, Player 7, to the Ultimate Pandora's Box program. The voice was electronically distorted, neither male nor female, just coldly neutral. Lily's heart hammered against her ribs. What is this? Let me go. I'll scream, I'll. Your mother has 6 days left. Maybe 5, given the progression rate the doctors haven't told you about yet. The masked figure slid a tablet across the table. Medical records. Her mother's. We're offering you 500 million won. Enough to save her, open that restaurant you dream about, never work another 16-hour shift. What do I have to do? Lily's voice cracked. Play a game. Win. Survive. And if I lose? The figure tilted its head. Then losing will be the least of your problems. But here's our gesture of good faith. Sign here, and we'll deposit 3% of the winnings immediately. Your mother's surgery, paid in full. Right now. Lily's hands trembled as she picked up the pen. She should ask questions. She should demand details. She should run. Instead, she thought of her mother's voice on the phone last week, weak and trying to sound strong. Don't worry about me, Omo am I. You have your own life to live. She signed. The masked figure nodded and stood. Congratulations, Player 7. The game begins tomorrow. Oh, and call your hospital. Check on your mother's account. Lily was given a phone, just one call. She dialed with shaking fingers. Seoul National University Hospital, how may I? Patient Parker Marker, room 304. Has there been any payment on her account? Typing sounds. A pause. Yes, the full amount for her surgery was paid 20 minutes ago. Anonymous donor. The surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Lily's breath left her body. They'd actually done it. Which meant this was real. Which meant whatever came next was going to be worse than anything she could imagine. They came for her then, 2 guards in black tactical gear, and led her through concrete corridors that smelled like industrial cleaner and something else, something metallic that might have been old blood. They stripped her, gave her a grey uniform that felt like burlap against her skin, and burned a number onto the back. 7. She was player 7 now, not Lily, not a nurse, not a daughter. Just a number. She was locked in a small room with a cot, a toilet, and nothing else. No windows, no clock, no way to know if minutes or hours were passing. She tried to sleep but kept seeing that masked figure, kept wondering what kind of game required a 500 million won prize. Across the city, in a penthouse that overlooked the Han River, Lee Minute poured whiskey into a crystal glass and didn't drink it. His younger brother, John Minute, paced behind him like a caged animal, all coiled violence and barely restrained fury. "We should have killed him when we had the chance," John Minute snarled. Father was too soft, letting him walk away. Father's decisions led to this. Lee Min's voice was ice over steel. "And now we pay for them." The video on the laptop showed their mother, bound to a chair in a dark room, tape over her mouth, terror in her eyes. She was 63 years old, had survived their father's murder 3 years ago, had helped them build their empire from blood and ash. And now someone had her. The distorted voice on the recording had been clear. "You want her back. Play the game. Win the game. Bring us what we want, and she lives. Refuse, and we send her back to you in pieces." "What do they want?" John Minute had demanded. "Your participation in the ultimate Pandora's Box program. Both of you. No substitutes, no negotiations. You have 12 hours to decide." That had been 11 hours ago. Lee Minute finally drank the whiskey, felt it burn down his throat, felt nothing. "We're doing it. It's obviously a trap. Obviously. But it's the only move we have." Lee Minute turned to face his brother. They looked alike, both tall and broad-shouldered, both carrying their father's sharp features and their mother's dark eyes. But where Lee Minute was calculated and cold, John Minute was fire and impulse. "We go in, we play whatever sick game this is, and we get her back. Then we burn everyone involved to the ground." John Min's jaw clenched, then he nodded. "Together. Together." They signed the contracts that arrived by courier at the 11-hour mark, were picked up by the same black vans, were processed by the same cold efficiency. They became Player 9 and Player 10, and they were given the same grey uniforms, though theirs seemed to fit better, as if someone had taken measurements while they slept. The warehouse was massive, all exposed steel beams and concrete floors, lit by fluorescent lights that hummed like dying insects. Lily stood with 10 other people, all wearing the same grey uniforms, all wearing the same expression of confused terror. She counted quickly. 5 men, 6 women. 11 total. The brothers stood together near the back, and even in prison uniforms, they looked dangerous. Something about the way they held themselves, the way other players instinctively gave them space. A speaker crackled to life, and that same distorted voice filled the enormous room. "Welcome to Pandora's Box. You're here because you're desperate. Desperate people do desperate things, and we're going to see just how desperate you are." "What kind of game is this?" a woman shouted. "Player 4, by the number on her back. Young, Korean, mascara already running down her face. The kind where you win everything or lose everything. Let me make the stakes clear. The prize is 500 million won. But only one of you can claim it." The voice paused, letting that sink in. "However, there are ways to improve your odds. Ways to form alliances. Ways to survive. The first rule is simple. Find a partner of the opposite gender. You have 30 seconds. If you're standing alone when the timer ends, you're eliminated. Your time starts now." For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then chaos erupted. Lily found herself shoved aside as people scrambled, voices overlapping in Korean, English, Mandarin. A man grabbed her arm. "Partner with me, please. I have children." Someone else pulled him away. The overhead timer ticked down. 25 seconds. 20. A strong hand gripped her wrist, and she looked up into cold dark eyes. One of the brothers, the older one, his face expressionless. "You're with me. I don't even know you. 15 seconds. Choose. Me or death." Lily's nursing instincts screamed that this man was dangerous, but her survival instincts screamed louder. She nodded, and he pulled her to stand beside him. Around them, other pairs formed quickly. John Minute grabbed a beautiful Korean woman in her 30s, pulling her close. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Player 11, a thin girl who couldn't have been more than 19, stood alone in the center of the room, spinning in circles, reaching for anyone. "Please," she sobbed in Korean. "Please, someone, I have a baby, I need." The timer hit 0. The sound was like a watermelon exploding. Lily screamed, turning away, but she'd already seen it. Seen the girl's head just come apart, seen the body crumple, seen the blood spray across the concrete. Around her, other players vomited, wept, or stood frozen in shock. The brothers didn't even flinch. Rule number 2, the voice continued as if nothing had happened. You and your partner are bound together. If one of you dies, the other dies. If one of you fails a challenge, you both die. Choose your trust wisely. Mechanical sounds echoed through the warehouse, and a section of wall slid open, revealing a dining area with tables laden with food. Korean fried chicken, pizza, fruit, bottles of water and soju. It looked obscene next to the body still cooling on the floor. Eat. Rest. The first official round begins in 6 hours. Nobody moved at first. Then John Minute walked toward the food, his partner stumbling beside him. You heard them. Eat. You'll need your strength. He grabbed a slice of pizza and bit into it, his eyes scanning the room like a predator assessing prey. Lily's stomach churned. How can you eat? Someone just died. A girl with a baby just. And you'll join her if you don't stay sharp, Lee Minute said quietly beside her. His voice was cold but not cruel, just stating facts. This isn't going to get better. This is going to get worse. So eat, stay strong, and maybe you'll see tomorrow. Who are you people? Lily whispered, searching his face for something human. For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Pain, maybe, or regret. Then it was gone. People who've seen worse than this. Come on. He led her to the food, and despite everything, despite the body being dragged away by masked guards, despite the blood still wet on the floor, Lily found herself eating. The chicken tasted like cardboard in her mouth, but she forced it down. Across the table, John Minute approached with 2 slices of pizza. Here, he said, setting one in front of Lily. His voice was softer than his brother's, almost gentle. You need protein. I'm John Minute. This is my brother, Lee Minute. Lily, she managed. My name is Lily. Not anymore, Lee Minute said flatly. You're player 7. I'm player 9. His player 10. Names mean attachment, and attachment means hesitation. He looked at his brother. Don't get attached. But John Minute was already studying Lily with curious eyes. You're not Korean. Nigerian. I'm a nurse at Seoul National University Hospital. The words tumbled out, normal words, words from her real life that felt like a lifetime ago. A nurse. John Min's expression softened further. My mother, she's sick. That's why we're here. They took her, said we had to play to get her back. He glanced at Lee Minute, whose jaw had tightened. We're going to win this thing and get her back. And you're going to survive this and help whoever you came here to save. My mother, Lily whispered. She needed surgery. They paid for it. 3% of the prize, they said, just for signing. Lee Min's eyes sharpened. They paid you up front. That means they're serious about this game. They want committed players, not people who might quit. He leaned closer, and Lily caught the scent of expensive cologne even through the prison uniform. Which means the game is worse than we think. The 6 hours passed in a blur of restless half-sleep. Lily lay on a cot in a communal sleeping area, all 10 remaining players separated by thin curtains that provided the illusion of privacy but nothing more. She could hear crying from one section, whispered prayers from another. The brothers spoke in low voices in Korean, their conversation intense but controlled. She must have dozed because sirens jolted her awake. Harsh lights flooded the space, and guards herded them back into the main warehouse area. Someone had cleaned the blood while they slept, but Lily could still see the stain, a shadow on the concrete that wouldn't wash away. Good morning, players. Welcome to round 1. The rules are simple. You and your partner will take turns giving each other dares. You must complete 3 dares before you can ask for one truth. Refuse a dare, you die. Fail a dare, you die. Lie when answering a truth, you die. And if your partner fails to give you a dare when it's their turn, you both die. The voice paused. We'll go in order by player number. Player 1, you begin. Player 1 was a middle-aged Korean man, balding, sweating profusely. His partner was player 2, a woman in her 40s who looked like she'd been crying for hours. He swallowed hard. I dare you to tell us why you're here. That's not a dare, that's a truth question, the voice corrected. Try again. Make it something she must do. Player 1's hands shook as he stared at his partner. I dare you to slap yourself. Hard. Player 2 raised her hand and brought it across her own face with a crack that echoed through the warehouse. Her cheek bloomed red, tears streaming down, but she was alive. The other players released collective breaths they didn't know they were holding. Player 2, your turn to dare player 1. She wiped her eyes. I dare you to do 20 push-ups. The man dropped and struggled through them, his arms trembling, but he completed all 20. Alive. Still alive. It continued like this, moving through the pairs. Player 3 dared his partner to sing a children's song, and her voice cracked and wavered but she finished. Player 5 was dared to eat a live cricket, and Lily watched him gag and vomit but force it down. Each dare revealed something about the person giving it, whether they were cruel or merciful, whether they wanted to hurt or just survive. Then came player 6, the beautiful woman partnered with John Minute. Her name was Hannah, Lily had learned during the meal, and she carried herself like someone used to getting what she wanted. She studied John Minute with calculating eyes. I dare you, Hannah said slowly, to kiss the person in this room you're most attracted to. John Min's expression flickered with surprise, then something else. His eyes swept across the room, pausing on several faces, before landing on Lily. He walked toward her with measured steps, and Lee Min's entire body went rigid beside her. Don't, Lee Minute said quietly, but John Minute ignored him. He stopped in front of Lily, towering over her, and for a moment she thought he'd actually kiss her lips. Instead, he leaned down and pressed his lips gently to her forehead, tender and protective, nothing like the violence she'd expected from him. When he pulled back, his eyes held an apology. That's acceptable, the voice announced. Player 10, your turn to dare player 6. John Minute returned to Hannah, and Lily could feel Lee Minute vibrating with tension beside her. She didn't understand why the simple gesture had affected him so much, but his hands were clenched into fists, his jaw tight enough to crack teeth. The dares continued. Player 7, player 8, and then it was their turn. Player 7, dare player 9. Lily's mind raced. What could she dare him that wouldn't be cruel but would satisfy the game? She looked at Lee Minute, this cold stranger who'd chosen her as a partner, who'd saved her life in those first 30 seconds. There was something in his eyes when he looked at her, something he was hiding. I dare you, she said carefully, to tell me the real reason you're here. Not the simple answer. The real one. That's a truth question disguised as a dare, the voice said, but then paused. However, we'll allow it. The distinction is philosophical. Player 9, answer with complete honesty. Lee Min's face remained impassive, but Lily saw his throat work as he swallowed. 3 years ago, my father was murdered. He ran an organization, not legal, not clean. My brother and I inherited his empire and his enemies. One of those enemies kidnapped our mother 5 days ago. They said we had to play this game to get her back. She raised us alone after our father died. She's the only parent we have left. She's the only person in this world I'd die for. His voice cracked slightly on the last word, the first real emotion she'd seen from him. Acceptable. Player 9, dare player 7. Lee Minute stared at Lily for a long moment. His eyes searched her face like he was looking for something specific, some answer to a question he couldn't ask. Finally, he spoke. I dare you to answer me honestly. If someone hurt your family, caused them terrible pain, but that person had no real choice in the matter, could you forgive them? The warehouse fell silent. It wasn't a physical dare, but it cut deeper than any of them. Lily thought of her father, dead 3 years in circumstances her mother never fully explained. She thought of the anger she'd carried, the questions without answers, the fury at whoever had taken him from them. "No," she said, her voice steady and cold. "Some things can't be forgiven. I don't care what choices they had. If they hurt my family, if they took someone I loved, I'd never forgive them. Never." Lee Min's face went pale. He looked like she'd physically struck him. John Minute, watching from across the room, noticed his brother's reaction and his eyes narrowed with confusion. "Acceptable," the voice said. "Continue." The game went on. 3 full rounds of dares, each more revealing than the last. Player 4 was dared to reveal her deepest shame and confessed she'd abandoned her mother in a nursing home and never visited. Player 8 had to stand on 1 foot for 10 minutes and collapsed at 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Lily closed her eyes, but she heard the gunshot, heard the body fall, heard Player 7's partner screaming before the second shot silenced her. 8 players left. Then came the truth round, and the voice said something that made Lily's blood freeze. "Special truth round. We're going to ask questions that some of you have been avoiding. Player 9, you will answer this question with complete honesty, and Player 7 will know if you're lying. What crime did your family commit against Player 7's family?" The warehouse went dead silent. Lee Minute stood slowly, his face ashen. John Minute shot to his feet. "What are you talking about?" But Lee Minute wasn't looking at his brother. He was looking at Lily, and in his eyes she saw guilt and grief, and something that looked like devastation. 3 years ago, he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "My father ran operations throughout Seoul. Import, export, things that weren't legal. A man discovered what we were doing. A Nigerian man who worked at one of our front companies. He found evidence of human trafficking, of women being moved through our ports. He was going to go to the police." Lee Min's hands trembled. "My father ordered him eliminated. I was 27. John Minute was 25. We didn't pull the trigger, but we knew. We knew and we did nothing." Lily couldn't breathe. The warehouse tilted around her. "What was his name?" "I don't know. The order just said the Nigerian accountant." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My father," Lily heard herself say from very far away, "worked as an accountant for a shipping company in Seoul. 3 years ago, he was killed in what the police called a random mugging. They never found who did it. My mother and I, we came to his funeral, and then we went back to Lagos with nothing. No answers, no justice, just gone." She looked at Lee Minute, and the rage that filled her was so pure it was almost peaceful. "You killed my father." "Lily," he started, but she cut him off with a scream. She lunged at him, fingers reaching for his eyes, his throat, anything she could hurt. Alarms shrieked and electricity shot through her body from her uniform, dropping her to the floor convulsing. Lee Minute knelt beside her, reaching out, but John Minute grabbed his arm. "Don't touch her," John Minute said, his voice shaking. "Hyung, you knew? This whole time, you knew who she was." "I didn't know," Lee Minute said desperately. "Not until she mentioned her father, not until I saw." He stopped himself, looking at Lily writhing on the floor as the electrical current subsided. "I suspected. The timeline matched. But I wasn't sure." The voice cut through the chaos. "Touching, truly. But let's make this more interesting. Player 7, you cannot harm your partner due to game rules. However, here's your choice. Continue with Player 9 as your partner, or we can reassign you to Player 8's former partner, Player 3. You have 10 seconds to decide." Lily pushed herself up, every muscle screaming. Player 3 was a wiry man in his 50s who'd barely spoken, who'd watched his partner die and showed nothing. Lee Minute was a monster, but he was a monster who'd kept her alive. She thought of her mother, safe now, surgery complete. She thought of the 500 million won that could change everything. She thought of her father's killers standing right in front of her, wearing the same grey uniform. "I stay with Player 9, she said, her voice like gravel. "But only because I want to watch him suffer." "Acceptable. Resume play." The next hours blurred together. More dares, more truths, more deaths. Player 3 refused a dare to drink from an unlabeled bottle and died screaming as the poison they injected him with burned through his veins. His partner, Player 4, was executed immediately after. 6 players remaining, 3 pairs. During a rest period, John Minute cornered his brother in a quiet section of the sleeping area. Lily watched from behind a curtain, unable to help herself. "What else aren't you telling me?" John Minute demanded. "You've been acting strange since we got here. The way you look at her, the way you chose her immediately as a partner. What is it?" Lee Min's voice was so quiet Lily had to strain to hear. "Do you remember what father told us before he died? About the woman he sent away, the one who was pregnant?" John Min's face went white. "No. You think? She has the birthmark. I saw it when her sleeve rode up during the electrical shock. The crescent moon, right shoulder blade. The Lee family mark. That's impossible. Father said she died in childbirth, that the baby died too. Father lied about a lot of things." Lee Min's hands shook as he ran them through his hair. "I think Lily Anderson is Lee Ji-woo. I think she's our sister." John Minute staggered back like he'd been shot. "But I kissed her. I have feelings for." He looked sick. "Does she know? If I tell her, I'm revealing game information, which means death. The rules are clear. No sharing information about other players' identities or backgrounds outside the official dare and truth structure." Lee Min's voice broke. "I can't tell her. I can't protect her beyond keeping us both alive. And she hates me for what our family did. When she finds out the rest." Lily pulled back, her mind reeling. Sister. They thought she was their sister. It was insane. Except her mother had always been vague about her father, had always changed the subject when Lily asked about him. He was a good man who made bad choices, was all she'd ever said. And Lily did have a birthmark on her right shoulder blade, a crescent moon shape she'd always thought was just a coincidence. No. It couldn't be true. She was Lily Anderson, daughter of a marker and whoever her father really was, Nigerian nurse, survivor. She wasn't part of some Korean crime family. She wasn't related to the men who'd murdered her father, or ordered his murder, or whatever semantic difference they wanted to hide behind. But doubt crept in like poison. The sirens called them back. Round 4. The voice spoke with something that might have been amusement. "We're down to 6 players. Normally, this would continue for several more rounds. But I'm bored, and I want to see what you're really made of. Final challenge. There's a button in the center of the room. Panels in the floor slid back, revealing a pedestal with a single red button. Press it, and you win 500 million won. You walk out of here rich and free. Everyone else dies immediately. You have 10 minutes to decide who presses it. If no one presses it, everyone dies. If multiple people try to press it simultaneously, everyone dies. 1 winner, 5 corpses. Your time starts now." Chaos erupted immediately. Hannah broke away from John Minute and sprinted for the button. Player 5 tackled her from the side, and they went down in a tangle of limbs. Player 6, a young man who'd been quiet until now, pulled a sharpened piece of metal from somewhere and lunged forward. John Minute intercepted him, twisting his arm until the weapon clattered away, then throwing him aside. "Everyone stop." Lee Min's voice cut through the noise with authority. "Fighting over it means we all die. Think. Why should we listen to you?" Player 5 snarled, blood running from his nose where Hannah had elbowed him. "You're just another player. Because I've read the rules more carefully than you have." Lee Minute turned to Lily. "The contract we signed. Do you remember the exact wording?" Lily's mind raced back to that white room, the masked figure, her desperate signature. It said the prize would be awarded to the winner or winners. Plural. Winners. Exactly. Lee Minute addressed the group. "There's a loophole. There has to be. They wouldn't make it this simple. Think about everything we've done. The game has been about partnership, about truth and dares between pairs. What if the answer isn't one person pressing the button?" Lily's nursing training kicked in, the part of her brain that solved problems under pressure. She'd been studying the contract papers scattered around the sleeping area, unable to sleep, looking for any advantage. And she'd found something. Clause 13b, she said suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at her. I saw it in the paperwork. If all remaining players collectively speak one shared truth within the final challenge time limit, the game nullifies and all participants receive an equal share of the total prize pool. The voice crackled with what might have been laughter. Very good, player 7. I wondered if anyone would find that. But what truth could all of you possibly share? Lily looked at each person in the room. Hannah, beautiful and ruthless, here because she'd embezzled from her own company and needed money to pay it back before the audit. Player 5 and 6, brothers who'd gotten involved with loan sharks. The Lee brothers, trying to save their mother. And herself, trying to save hers. We're all victims, Lily said clearly. Every single one of us. We didn't choose this because we're bad people. We chose it because we were desperate, because we love someone, because we had no other options. We're survivors of cruelty, and we choose to live. Together. She held out her hand. Lee Minute took it first, his grip strong and warm. John Minute joined, then reluctantly Hannah, then the brothers. They formed a circle in the center of the warehouse. We are not players, they said in unison, the words echoing off concrete walls. We are survivors of cruelty, and we choose to live. The lights blazed bright, then died. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. The voice spoke one last time. Congratulations. You've passed. Doors Lily hadn't known existed slid open, and the masked figure walked in, flanked by guards. Slowly, deliberately, they removed the mask. The man beneath was in his 60s, Korean, with grey hair and sharp features that Lily recognized immediately because she'd seen them in Lee Min's face, in John Min's cheekbones. He smiled, and it was almost proud. Well done, daughter, he said, looking directly at Lily. You're smarter than I expected. More compassionate too. I'm Lee Jae-sung, and I'm your father. The world tilted. Lily heard John Minute curse in Korean, heard Lee Min's sharp intake of breath. Her voice came out as a whisper. My father is dead. Your father in Lagos is dead, yes. I ordered that. He was becoming a liability, asking too many questions about you, threatening to tell you about me. Lee Jae-sung stepped closer. But I'm your real father. Your mother and I had an affair 27 years ago. When she got pregnant, I paid her to leave, to raise you far away from this life. I thought she'd died in childbirth. Imagine my surprise when facial recognition software flagged you entering Korea 3 years ago as a nursing student. You set this up, Lee Minute said, his voice hollow. The kidnapping, the game, all of it. Mother was never in danger. Your mother is fine. She's been watching from a comfortable room upstairs, worried but safe. This was a test. For all 3 of my children. To see if you'd inherited my ruthlessness or your mother's weakness. To see if you deserved the empire I've built. Lily couldn't breathe. You killed my other father. The man who raised me, who loved me. You killed him and then you put me in this nightmare to test me. And you passed. You all did. You chose compassion over cruelty, unity over individual survival. You found the loophole I left for you. Lee Jae-sung's smile widened. You're worthy. All of you. I don't want anything from you, Lily said, her voice stronger now. Not your empire, not your blood money, not your twisted approval. I want my share of the prize, and then I never want to see you again. You'll get your share. 100 million won each. More than enough for whatever life you choose. He gestured to his guards. You're free to go. All of you. 6 months later, Lily stood in front of Pandora's Kitchen, her restaurant, watching the neon sign flicker to life. Korean characters on one side, Pandora's Kitchen in English on the other. Inside, the dinner rush was starting, Korean customers mixing with Nigerian expats, everyone drawn by the fusion menu that had taken Seoul by storm. Her mother worked in the back, healthy now, teaching the Korean cooks how to make proper jollof rice. They'd had long conversations, painful ones, about secrets and lies and fathers. They were healing, slowly. The door opened and Lee Minute walked in, John Minute behind him. They came once a week, always sitting in the back corner, always ordering the same thing. They'd dismantled their father's criminal empire, piece by piece, trying to make amends for crimes they'd inherited. It wasn't enough, would never be enough, but it was something. Still weird, John Minute said, sliding into his seat. Knowing you're our sister. Still hate you both, Lily replied, but there was less venom in it now. But you're family. And I never had siblings before. Lee Minute said nothing, just watched her with those same dark eyes, full of regret and something else she didn't want to name. A man entered then, tall and handsome, with dark skin and an expensive suit. He approached the counter with a bright smile. I heard the jollof rice here reminds people of home. I'm from Lagos originally. Lily smiled back. Where's home for you now? Seoul. I'm a diplomat with the Nigerian embassy. Actually, I'm looking for someone. A woman named Lee Ji-woo? Lily's smile froze. That name. Her birth name, the one she'd learned from her father's will. That's. I used to be called that. Why? The man's smile widened. I'm your half-brother. From your father's Nigerian side. We have a lot to talk about. Behind her, Lee Minute stood abruptly, his chair scraping. John Min's hand went to his phone. And Lily realized that her story, her painful, complicated, beautiful story, was far from over. If you enjoyed this story of family, secrets, and survival, subscribe to our channel for more Afro-Korean tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Comment below with what you think happens next, and hit that like button if you want to see Lily's story continue. New stories every week, and trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.